You are looking live at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Steelers Training Camp 2023. Where would you rather be than right here, right now? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Training Camp Live, brought to you by FedEx. Mike Prisuta along with Max Starks. It is day 22 since the Steelers first checked in to their rooms at St. Vincent College. But, Max, an emotional day for us as the team will be here tomorrow. We will not. There is no program tomorrow. It might be the penultimate public practice.
Yes.
But this is our final training camp live together.
Yeah, no, and I have to say that it has been a pleasure, Mike, and I'm going to be saddened that we won't be doing one more broadcast together, but we will be on the airwaves together, so we do have that.
At times we will, and
Yeah.
I can always call you at 1:55 every day or 2 o'clock, and,
and
we could just do it to entertain
ourselves. We could talk back and forth
Yeah.
and see how it goes while pretending that there's a practice going on.
Well, we don't have to pretend today. We got one more shot at this, and I thought an appropriate place to begin today would be to run it back to where the Steelers were when they checked in, specifically Mike Tomlin's mindset heading into training camp 2023.
I think sometimes when you have too hardcore of a plan in an environment like this, you miss something. And so we're here to grow and develop individually and collectively. And when you're in my position, you better be open to being pleasantly surprised or disappointed, to be quite honest with you. And so some of the things that you guys ask about specifically in terms of an agenda or things I'm looking for, it's a tad bit premature, because we're here to develop our personality, our strengths, our weaknesses, to ascertain what those things are, to divide the labor up. And so we're at ground zero in that regard.
They're not at ground zero anymore, but they are still evolving. They are still discovering who they are and what they can be individually and collectively. But, Max, that soundbite from Mike Tomlin really stuck with me when we got here, and it continues to resonate today. And that's why I wanted to open today's show with our pleasant surprises, assuming you have some. And I've got one, and I might be sounding a little repetitive if people have been checking into the show every day. But a pleasant surprise to me would be a guy who was not on the roster when training camp started, making a lot of waves about, if not starting an inside linebacker, at least getting regular reps as part of a rotation. I nominate Quan Alexander for my pleasant surprise of St. Vincent 2023.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct. I think when you look at what Quan Alexander bringing to this team, he wasn't on the roster. An injury happens. They make a move to make sure that he can get on the team.
It's James Harrison-esque.
I mean, no, because he actually played for 4 teams and actually had stats before he came here. Well, James just got cut.
But then Clark Hagan's get hurt, and that's what got him back the time he finally stuck?
No, Clark was healthy that year. It was they didn't have there was a backup.
He didn't break his hand lifting weights or something before?
I want to say, I think it was Alonzo Jackson, the second-round pick the year before. Did not make he didn't make the roster.
All right, it's not that James Harrison-like, but
it's
a good story, Alexander.
But it's still a good story. He bounced around, because remember, he was brought in here on medical, checked him out. They didn't really see. They weren't really sold on it, and they kind of passed on him. He went to a couple of other teams on workouts, and then all of a sudden, opportunity presents itself, and boy, oh boy, he has ran with it since then. I actually got to talk to him at lunch today. Nice young man. We had to talk about his days at LSU, because he was also considering another great institution in the Southeastern Conference. That was
Alabama,
University of Florida,
Mississippi.
You failed that question, terribly.
Mississippi State.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mississippi State. Really, we don't get better than Mississippi State.
Vanderbilt.
That's education first, though, but definitely not for football.
I had a chance to talk to Quan Alexander after practice yesterday, and one of the questions I asked him was, before your knee injury in 2018, which really severely altered this guy's career trajectory, because he was lights out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they drafted him. Then he got hurt in his 4th season. I said, you were considered one of the best in the business back then. Can you be that again? And he said, and I quote, still that. And he said, people here have not yet seen his real game. And he said, when I get an opportunity, you'll know. I mean, this guy is supremely confident. He seems a little honked off that he's had to bounce around the way he has from San Francisco to New Orleans, was it, to the Jets, and now to Pittsburgh. 4 teams in 4 years. I hear a guy is on his 4th team in 4 years, and the reporter in me conjures up a healthy dose of skepticism. But, wow, he doesn't look like that guy. He looks like the guy he was coming out of LSU. Or am I overstating it?
No, I don't think you're overstating it. I mean, but it's about the right fit as well. Like, how do you fit into the scheme of a defensive structure? What's your personality? Where does your place open up? And I think for Quan Alexander in this opportunity with the Steelers, we needed 2 inside backers. We need to have an upgrade to the position because you didn't bring back Miles Jack, you didn't bring back Robert Spillane. Devin Bush is now in Seattle. And who else are you left with? So except for Mark Robinson is really the only holdover, and he was a rookie last year, only in his 3rd year learning the position. So there was a lot of opportunity there. When you can come in and compete for a starting job and compete for a major role when you're talking about the inside linebacker position and the tradition that the Steelers hold with this position, that changes a little bit of your prep. That changes the standard that's set, and you have to elevate your own game because you're like, I'm stepping into a position where they've been searching for this guy, and I can be that missing piece. I'm not just coming in to be someone that's a role player that might get a couple of plays here and there in a special package. No, you could actually be on the field in the starting linebacking position, and it's a truly open competition because all of the guys are brought in from outside this offseason when you think of Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts as well.
Yeah, he's been getting Alexander's been getting regular run with the number ones. Yesterday was a rotation between those 3 guys. They were all playing with one another. And you look at him, 227 pounds, Max, for an inside linebacker. Ryan Shazier weighed in at 230. Now, I'm not saying this guy's Ryan Shazier, but Ryan Shazier was part of the Steelers jumping on that new wave of hybrid linebackers. You didn't want just the thumper anymore. You didn't want Levon Kirkland. You wanted a guy who could cover like a safety and play the run like a backer. And that was deemed to be one of these tweener type of guys. And, there's not a lot of them around the league. Everybody wants one, to quote Van Halen, or wants some. But you can't just go down to the Roquan Smith store and say, I'll take 1 or 2 of those. You got to try to find them where you can find them. This is, to me, a developing story.
Yeah, no, I mean, technically, and let's face it, we all do shopping, right? We look for goods at a great deal. Sometimes you got to get it refurbished. You can't buy it brand new. and I will take the refurbished Quan Alexander 2023 edition right now because I think there's a great value there. And I think you can get a lot of great use out of him. And he fits in. You can see the communication. You can see him. He fits in with what the Steelers want to do. Just look at the game Friday night. I mean, I know it was a penalty, but that was a pure football play. He lined up a guy and put him in the crosshairs and took him down. He made a great decision, instinctual decision on 3rd and short, shot the gap and made a stop at short yardage. And so when you think about adding that on top of the athleticism of Cole Holcomb, the downhill thumperous type of players in Landon Roberts and Mark Robinson. Thumperous, yes.
I like that.
And you have those 4 guys. Now you have options to game plan. And I think that's something we didn't have the luxury a year ago. We were praying to find 2 guys that were healthy consistently.
There's the 3rd down you were talking about.
Yeah, and, I mean, look at that.
Gained a yard, but he got it done.
He earned every single inch of that yard running against him. And the fact that he pulled the trigger like that, he didn't have to hesitate. It wasn't I'm a wait. It was seek, sift, destroy. And that's what you want in a linebacker, and he gave us that. And I think Landon Roberts has that.
Holcomb in there next to him taking on the offensive lineman to help allow that play to be made. There's a tackle for a loss. And look at him celebrating. Look at him flexing.
Yes.
This guy's been around a long time. This was a preseason opener. Now, I know he used to play in Tampa, but I don't know. Is that a big emotional thing to go back and play a preseason game where you used to play real games? Or is he this fired up because he thinks, hey, I'm getting ready to reestablish myself in this league?
I think wearing that uniform right there brings out a little something extra. When you come to be a part of the Steelers, there's an extra gear that kicks in because when you're around other excellent players, you've got to have that same juice. for him, I'm sure he looks around. You see 97, you see 90, you see the Pro Bowls and the All Pros. Then you look behind you and you see 39 on the back half, and he's giving it his all. You can't help but be excited that I'm going to be on an elite defense. I mean, this is one that if you believe the preseason prognosticators outside of Western PA, they have the Steelers as one of the top defenses coming into this season, whereas a year ago we didn't have that. So when you look at the history, you look at the amount of Hall of Famers from that side of the ball, you have to be excited because it is something that is, I will say, not necessarily previewed, but it is something that is very well lauded in Western PA. It's a blue-collar mentality, but they pride themselves in the era of the Steel Curtain and beyond to have hard, tough-nosed, fast, smart defensive players, and he fits that category.
Yeah, the new position coach, Aaron Curry, is a big proponent of that, as is Mike Tomlin. Curry was talking about that back in minicamp, what's acceptable and what isn't. And I think I asked him, can you give me a little detail on that? He goes, go look at the guys that used to play here. If it looks like that, it's acceptable. If it doesn't, it's not. And I don't think he meant the guys who were here most recently. He's talking about,
not last year's squad.
Some of the prominent guys. I looked at inside linebacker when camp started. I said, it's different. It's not necessarily fixed.
Yeah.
I think it's better now. Now we just got to find out how much better and what will the specific division of labor be. But I kind of like all three of those guys.
Yeah, well, and I like all four if you include Mark Robinson in there because he had an absolute monster of a game on Friday with all the snaps he had. He was second leading tackler on the team. I think he came out with 7 total tackles, but they were impactful plays. You remember the tackles that he did have, and that's something I really liked. And his growth, I think, with those 3 guys around him, kind of like 3 big brothers, and he's just a little brother just learning right along the way. It's a good mix. And you do have youth as well as the experience. And like you said, you got some redemption on the side of Quan Alexander wanting to go prove who he was from years ago. Also, guys who just get the job done, and Landon Roberts and Cole Holcomb, who were captains on their respective teams before they came to the Steelers. So you have a good mix of, not to necessarily say intergenerational, because football players grow like dog years, but you have a good cross-section of athletic skills and traits that you can mix and match for any game plan.
Another guy on my pleasant surprise list, I mentioned a moment ago that, healthy dose of journalistic skepticism. When guys start adding up 3-4 teams, I start thinking, okay, there's probably a reason for that.
Yes.
I get guys changed, be a free agency. They might chase a contract or a better opportunity for playing time or a better schematic fit. But when the Steelers –
or they become expensive because they are getting older in the league. Let's face it. Checkbooks
anybody
do
in particular
well.
come to mind when you think of that?
Yeah. Listen, the list is too long.
Allen Robinson, I wasn't, blown away when they traded for him. But number one, the guy's really playing well. And number two, I think he has been the veteran presence in that receiver room that they were looking to add into that culture and that climate. But the playing, I came into the spring, let's say, fairly convinced Calvin Austin III would end up being the slot receiver. And since we've been out here, I think it's a neck-and-neck thing. It's quite a battle to me. And one of the reasons why is because Allen Robinson is really playing well.
He's really playing well, and also what you have to have at the slot receiver position to really separate yourself from the crowd is the willingness to go and dig out a block, right? The Hines Ward-esque type of mentality. That's what the slot position dictates. And Allen Robinson has shown he's willing to go do that. He's willing to go do the dirty work as well as go across the middle and make the tough play from the slot position. And you're right. That's something that has really stood out as we progress through camp. He didn't look too particularly great or stand out the first couple of days of camp. But as you see the cumulative effect of what he's doing, you're like, oh, man, this dude's pretty rock solid. And, when you have 10 years in the NFL, that means something, especially at the wide receiver position. I know there's a multitude of teams, but the fact that you're still wanted after 10 years shows that you possess some special trait. And
Old and slow are not normally on the wish list for wide receivers. Now,
They're not.
He is experienced, but he can still move.
He can still move, and he's also like having an extra coach out there.
Yeah.
On the field, and he's been paired with George Pickens as a roommate, and I think that
just a coincidence, right?
Yeah. Only by it
Just
happened
worked out that
accidentally,
way.
right? It was just alphabetical order. R is right next to P, right? No, it is, but no. Mike Tomlin really put those two together because he wanted to have someone there to help mature George Pickens and understand what this league is all about, and none better than him. And you could see those traits not only rubbing off on George Pickens, but also the rest of the wide receiver room.
Yeah, and I think Calvin Austin looks great. He had a fine showing in that first game, which was a big deal for him.
Good rookie debut for a second-year guy.
Allen Robinson told us when we got here that he was healthy, but he still hadn't rediscovered his game. And he said there's a difference.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see what he meant. Because as you mentioned, shortly after we got here, and particularly once the pads came on, that's when he seemed to really start rediscovering who he used to be.
Well, and really elevating himself. I mean, as you see him go through those crazy
he
wide
just
receiver
jumped to
drills.
elevate.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at that. Couldn't have timed it up any better.
I love when the words in the video
yeah.
match up the way
It's
that
like you wrote a narrative script.
We're
there.
having a ball, Max.
Yeah. it just keeps coming. I mean, it's great. But no, I think, for any guy or football player, when you make this journey through the league, it's tough for you to really navigate, and then you have a setback of an injury, and it kind of chips away a little bit at your own personal, immortality, so to speak. Because it's like, no, now I can get hurt. Now, am I scared? Am I playing nervous? I wasn't playing as fast and as free as I did in years past. But so you then have to rediscover, okay, how do I get back to that level? You never truly get back to that level, but you come to a level of acceptance that I can play full and free because guess what? Things happen. Happens at times. And sometimes you just have to make the best out of it, right?
Yeah. Stuff does happen.
Stuff does happen. That's the S I was looking for.
I knew it, yeah.
Right. But you make lemonade out of lemons. And I think for a guy like Allen Robinson,
chicken salad-like components.
Yeah, exactly. Some of them are separated. You got to mix them every once in a while. But Allen Robinson, you can see, has a confidence about him. And that's the one thing that a lot of guys lose. And I think that's what it is when you're talking about rediscovering yourself. It's just finding your confidence again. Trusting yourself, knowing what it took to get here and what it took to maintain here is what's going to continue to propel me in my career. And you can see that. I mean, and he did, like you said, the pads went on, and you saw a light go off. Like, hey, okay, now this is what I remember. This is what I recognize from football. And he goes out there and he plays free. And I love that about him. And it's fun because it won't show up on the stat sheet, Mike. But it is stuff that his teammates respect him for. They look to him. They want to have that conversation with him because he's been there and done that. And he's still doing it.
I might say he's raising the bar in that wide receiver room.
That is a good one. That is a good one.
Third guy on my pleasant surprise list, and maybe this is just my fault for initially underestimating the impact of the pick, but, after you get a potential foundation left tackle of the future, after you get a Big Ten nose guy that I know can play, after you get a potential starting cornerback for the next 10 years, after you get help at edge rush where you really needed it, after you get a massive tight end that can move.
Specimen.
The draft was full of attention-getting picks, and then they got around to taking Spencer Anderson on the 7th round, and I thought, okay, he gets to go to camp, and then I wonder what he'll do with his life's work. And I think he's going to stick around for a while because you and Craig Wolfley were first to the party on this guy.
Yes.
In terms of analyzing how easily he is transitioning from college to the NFL. And not just that, Max, but from doing everything along the offensive line at Maryland to doing everything here. We even saw him play a little center yesterday. He checked the final box. All 5 positions now have been handled by that kid.
Well, this is the guy I picked day 2 in camp. And he was playing third string right tackle. And I just looked at his demeanor. I looked at him go through his plays. And that's what I said. I said, hey, Wolf, check out this 74 kid. I was like, I really like Spencer Anderson. And they were asking, hey, what do you see about it? I said, it doesn't look too big for him. And what I meant by that was the moment. The lights were never too bright. The opponent was never too menacing, where guys are nervous
Yeah.
and
As you would expect with his Big Ten heritage.
I mean, first of all, Maryland. Please just stop. I mean, you literally, they red rovered over from the ACC. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not even claiming Maryland. Full disclosure.
Yeah, basketball maybe we could talk, but yeah, no, but I think that was one of the things. And then of course, to know Mike Loxley, his head coach at University of Maryland, and really talk glowingly about him.
See the brother of Robin of.
No, not Rob enough. No, now mind you, Men in Tights probably. He might be a cousin. But I think when you look at just how his process is, like this guy stayed in school extra year. He kept the left tackle on the team that did not want to play football anymore, and that dude I think is going to make some money in the league. He played 4 positions there his senior year, and he got his master's degree. That is, when you talk about work ethic, sticking to it, creating time for himself, efficiency, all the things you need to do to be a great offensive lineman, he's already doing off the field. It's only a matter of him translating it to on the field, and I think he's done that throughout camp. I looked at his footwork. His footwork was sound, and even as he's switching between 3 different positions in the game on Friday, it looked in line with everybody else. Like, he didn't stick out, but he, in a good or a bad way, he just fit in. And that's something you need. When you're a young 7th-round pick trying to make your way into this league, it has to be do whatever I need is necessary. By any means necessary, get the job done. And he's done it. They put him at right tackle. They put him at left tackle, both guards. Now, he snapped extended yesterday, but he did snap before.
In 11 on 11?
Yeah, he has snapped before. Just like 1 or 2 snaps, though. This was the first time he got an elongated look. And, of course, Mike Tomlin had him on his additional, I feel like, Etch-a-Sketch roster that he made as a 4th-string center. So that just goes to show he's just an offensive lineman, but the kid can play all 5 positions, and he looked good doing all of it in live reps. So when you can do that, this is a guy that you know is going to make the team or make the team somewhere. And I have to believe big prairie mammals that can move and switch between positions are in short supply, and I'm glad we drafted this one.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin has said of Anderson, he's got the mental capacity to handle all these positions and the potential switching around. Now they're going to find out if he can hold up physically, but it sounds like from your description that that's not going to be an issue.
Not a problem. Has not mispracticed yet. Has not had an issue. And like you said, wherever coach puts him, he's ready to go. And we could get to the nuances, but right now it's make the roster, make the team, and then you make your push later. And I think for Spencer Anderson, he's well on his way to making that push. Now, like you said, health is going to be obviously the concern for anybody that we list. But when healthy, this kid is going to be a game day dresser, not just a game day participant on the roster. I think he's got a role on this team to really be the auxiliary guy that you need for all positions. You carry him, like you carry a little emergency kit, right? I got Band-Aids, some Neosporin, and some alcohol swabs.
I got one in the glove box.
See, exactly. That's Spencer Anderson. He's your little survival kit. He can get you through a game, and I think that's what you have to have. Everybody in the league would want a Spencer Anderson on their squad because position flexibility. He could play. If he could play all 5 down the line, that's hard to do. That's hard to do and memorize it all and keep it all together. And he's shown the propensity to do that as of yet.
Did we miss any surprises?
You know what? I'm going to go with one more. Anthony McFarland.
Okay.
It's
not a bad choice, actually.
Yeah, because Anthony McFarland has been a guy that we've been waiting for it, right? The expectation's been there. We heard about the speed and we heard about his running back prowess, but it never really developed and it never really came into fruition. But this year, his ability not only out of the backfield as a running back, but out of the backfield as a receiver. The dude looks silky smooth coming out of his breaks, and the one-on-one drills against linebackers and DBs.
Well, those are rigged.
Once again, but still, he makes them look stupid, though.
Well, I mean, the quarterback's just standing there. There's no rush. They have to defend the entirety of the field.
They cut the corner.
The guy runs around and he gets open and they throw
the
them.
Sideline.
Oh, a cone.
I'm talking about the one
cone.
over here on the close end to us, right behind us. And the kid, but in 11 on 11, they run real routes with him. Running backs can't run with. Linebackers can't run with him.
Yeah.
And the safeties aren't big enough to really butt him up at the line. So I think that's something that I look at as well, and I say, Okay, Anthony McFarland's been a guy that's been a really pleasant surprise, especially
He's
when
having a
we've
ball out here, Max.
having a ball, raising the bar, right? As you said.
It's been hair-raising watching some of his runs.
Yeah, I mean, hey, a center of attention. I'd slam the table for him.
Joey Porter Jr. spoke with a few of us today, and significant day for him yesterday. We saw number 24 in gold back on the practice field yesterday. He made a play on George Pickens in 7 shots. Little temporary bobble by Pickens, but I'm not sure he doesn't come down with it anyway, except Porter came in from the back and hammered the ball out.
Clubbed it out, yeah.
Asked Joey Jr. if he was going to play against Buffalo on Saturday night at Acrisure Stadium, and he said day to day, it's up to Coach Tomlin. We'll see. What do you think? And what is your level of urgency regarding the need for Porter to play, considering he's already missed 1 of 3 preseason opportunities?
Gotta play. If healthy, gotta play. No question about it. Because you need to see what your secondary is gonna turn out to be. We know Patrick Peterson and Levi Wallace are slated at the corners position, but if 24 can show the propensity and can show the skill set necessary to be the starting corner, then now you have the luxury of Patrick Peterson, not the necessity of Patrick Peterson. And that's a huge difference when you can bring him in nickel situations. He can be the inside slot guy. He can also drop and play some of your pseudo safety stuff. Patrick Peterson is an absolute weapon to have at the cornerback or secondary position. I'm not even going to put cornerback on him.
Yeah, no, I like
secondary asset.
I like that. I mean, he's talked about himself being no longer a cornerback. He said now he's a football player.
Yes, and I would agree with that.
Meaning he's not just going to chase guys up and down the sideline or all over the field. He's going to actually.
Yeah, he's not going to be Peterson Island, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to be a silo man press corner that he's been most of his career. Also, you add wide receiver and stellar return guy to the resume. Now, if he can add safety as well, I mean that just cements him as a future Hall of Famer because of what he's been able to do and how he's really changed this game. But he comes in as a coach. I mean, you see him and 24 in the same frame here, and they talk a lot. He's in his ear a lot because Pat knows that you have to bring the young guys along, because by bringing that young guy along gives him more flexibility, and also it takes the stress off of him. And I think that's where I love that for Pat. Because in year 13, I mean, I never forget the first day in practice down here, I was on the field, and he goes up to me, he's like, Max, I'm finally here. I'm finally a Steeler. He said that to our kids went to school together when he was in Arizona. So I used to see Pat a lot. But he finally made it here. He wanted to be here. He wanted to be coached by Mike Tomlin, and now he's getting the opportunity. You can see him just running with it. The leadership, the way guys just look at him, for attention outside of Minka. That's something that you want in that secondary. You want that leadership there, and with him in that lineup and in that group makes this a very elite secondary.
Yeah, and I think we saw maybe what the coaches are thinking, the presumptive dime defense yesterday.
Yeah.
In the last 11-on-11 period, it was Joey Porter Jr. and Levi Wallace as the outside cornerbacks, and then the other 4 DBs, and I'll just call them DBs because I'm not sure who's playing safety and who's playing what, but Minka Fitzpatrick, DeMonte Casey, Keanu Neal, and Patrick Peterson. I think
scary.
That's their best 6, right?
Yeah, that's
why they're
scary.
out there in the dime. And
exactly.
Holcomb was the inside linebacker, by the way. But yeah, I want to see that develop that way, and I think it'll develop quicker if Porter plays this just in.
Yeah, you have to know what you have at that corner, and to see Lil Peasy out there is going to make a
Is that what they're calling him?
He is Little Peasy. He's not Big Peasy. We've seen Big Peasy.
Yeah.
Big Peasy is still a big name guy. I mean, he's a defensive coordinator for Hines Ward's team in the XFL. So
kind of like JPJ better than Little Peasy.
That's too much work.
JPJ.
Little Peasy.
It's like a brand. You already know what that means.
And you know what Little Peasy means.
Yeah, but you don't want to be little anything out here, do you?
I mean, listen, every other rapper, as we're listening to rap music
but
in the background, they're all little.
Nobody's trying to stop them from rapping.
No,
they're just doing it.
I would personally stop them, but that's just me.
I mean, they just pick up the mic and go. They don't have some guy coming from the blind side, and if they didn't check the protection of that side, they get crushed.
Yeah, but you also know that he can also run with the big dogs as a little guy. That's second generation right there.
Well, I wish we could find a shot of a dog right now. I've seen a few on the hillside.
Yeah, no, they've definitely brought them here. But I think, if you don't bring bags, it's a bad situation.
Last thing I got for you and this series of programs, Max. Cam Hayward talked a little bit today as well, and I said, can you kind of sum up training camp? And he said, training camp's not over yet. And I said, well, the St. Vincent College portion is almost over. And he said, still got a lot of work to do. And I think when Mike Tomlin talks tomorrow, he's going to reference that there is a natural tendency to perhaps let down on the part of a player when you get out of St. Vincent College and get back to Pittsburgh. But I think Tomlin will remind everyone that you haven't made anything yet, and you better keep that pedal down when they take this operation back to the South Side.
Yes, don't get lulled into the false comfort that nobody got cut because there will be a cut, and it will be a significant haircut when we pare this roster down from 90 to 53. And after we do that, guess what, Mike? 625 guys will become available in the National Football League. So if you think you're a bubble guy that's safe, not so fast, my friend, because if there's an upgrade on another roster because they were heavy at a position, you could be gone as well. So you must take every day seriously until you get to that game when it's saying, hey, we're prepping for San Francisco this week at the Wednesday morning meeting of game week in September. So there is nothing to relax about. There's nothing to take lightly. A lot of work still to come. It just won't be done at the what I call the Forge here, the summer home of the Steelers at St. Vincent College.
Kind of like the way we approached this show.
Yeah.
All work all the time, every day.
We're going to give it to the very last second, Mike. Hard-hitting journalism at its finest.
Which we're fast approaching. Before we sign off, I just want to take a minute. It's not just Max and I sitting here at this desk. There's a small army of people working for the Steelers behind the cameras, setting things up, down on the field, doing X number of thankless jobs. And these guys are relentless. These people are so dedicated, and I am so appreciative that we got a chance to work with all the people that we did out here.
Oh, no, I mean, just from the guys, I mean, obviously Gerard, the main maestro there, Reagan, Jalen, Taven, Alec, all the
Ian,
guys involved, Ian, I mean,
Emil.
Emil, love Emil. But we had an army
Hope
of
we
guys.
didn't miss any.
I know we did, and trust me, I said Steve. On
the
there.
people who are in our ear,
People who are
telling
in our
us,
ears, I did
helping
say
us,
Steve.
telling us what to say.
But I mean, the countless personnel that's helped us. It truly makes all of these shows fantastic. Their hard work, their effortless. When we're giving them names and numbers randomly, and they got to find it.
Yeah.
So no, we're really appreciative. These shows have been awesome, and to do something that nobody else in the league does, I think, is also a testament to the Steelers organization that people want to know about their favorite team this time of year, which gives us the platform to then talk about it.
And knowing that we are talking about practice.
We are talking about practice.
Not the game.
Nah, talking about practice. Practice.
And
AI would be upset with our show.
You made it sing, my friend. Enjoyed it. I'm still not done. We've got the wrap-up show coming up after practice today. Craig Wolfley will join me for that. So you'll want to continue to try to find us. However you found us on whatever Steelers social media platform you chose. Until then, for the crew, for Max Starks, I'm Mike Prisuta. Thanks for finding us. This has been Training Camp Live, brought to you by FedEx.